It's Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. Episode 048, for those of you keeping track. You are about to go down the rabbit hole with Joe and Brian. I'm Brian. With me, as always, is my good friend Joe. Joe, how you doing?
I'm well, on yourself?
Doing okay.
Good. Very good.
Bitcoin took a big hit today. I don't know what happened. I lost about $3,000, but I have faith that it'll bounce back up.
Uh, don't have faith, man.
Oh my goodness. That's the
Yeah.
great thing. That's the great thing. It's that's the great thing about it though is these wild fluctuations. Don't get into it if you're looking to just make money. But if you just got some money that you don't mind losing, it's a fun.
And the thing
It's
is
fun.
I've yet to meet somebody who turned Bitcoin back into cash.
I mean I could,
No,
but
but no,
I'm going to sit on it.
yeah,
I want to.
but to me, none of this is real until you take cash, you turn it into Bitcoin, and then you take that Bitcoin and you turn it back into cash.
No, that's not the end. The end goal is to be able to just start purchasing things with Bitcoin and
Oh,
leave
oh, oh.
cash out of the equation.
Well, to me, purchasing things and taking, making it become cash are equivalent. Because
I know I know what you're saying, but they're not equivalent in that the whole point of Bitcoin is to freeze out the big banks. But that's beside the point.
uh,
Uh, yeah. So what else we got? F1 last weekend. My boy Max Verstappen won his first Formula One of the season, so that was cool.
I need to look at
Um,
this Max Verstappen guy.
yeah, he's a young kid. Well, he's not. I don't know. He's been in the series about I don't know 3, 4, maybe 5 years now. But I remember when he was first a rookie. Man, he was just like this brash. He's like a bull in a china shop. Everyone hated him. He was wrecking. He was just wrecking into everybody,
Oh,
pissing
so
people
he
off.
was literally running into folks.
Oh yeah, he was reckless, man. But now he's sharpened his skills. He's a hell of a driver now, and he put he put Lewis Hamilton in his place. Red Bull won. It was a hell of a race.
How
So,
many hours do these races go for?
oh no, the race takes about maybe about an hour and a half probably.
Oh,
So there's a time limit on them, but they never. The only time the time limits would ever come into play, which it kind of did last weekend. They hinted at it, but when there's like when they like red flag a race, which means that the race stops and everyone goes back to the pit row
hmm.
to clean while they clean up the track because of accidents and whatnot.
Hmm.
They stop, so that's when if you was red flagged for an extraordinarily long time, then you might come up to the limit of how long a race can go. But I've never seen that.
So what are the reasons they might red flag the race?
They red flag when there's like a major accident and
Oh
there's
yeah, oh,
just
yeah.
debris all over the track, and they need to give
Unsafe.
the crews time
All right. Yeah, I just learned
to
something new.
clean up and stuff. Yeah. Or they'll even like last year. You remember when I told you about last year that guy he hit the barrier and his car just exploded into
Oh yeah,
flames, and
yeah,
how
yeah.
he that was the longest red flag I'd seen, because they literally they wouldn't restart the race unless they had fixed the barriers, and that's no easy task. So
So they literally have to have like a construction crew on site.
yeah, essentially they've got these big machines anyway that do things like when a car wrecks, they'll just have this like big tractor come out and just basically they
Scoop it
hoist
up.
them up. They have like a hoist that they chain it from the top and lift it up, but But yeah, they had like concrete barriers that they had to put in place and then reinforce and stuff. So
Nice,
um,
very
it
nice.
is, yeah. So anyway, I'm glad F1's back. Although they're taking off this week again, so um,
Hmm.
I don't have anything to look forward to this weekend.
Say, quick question: how many races are in an F1 season?
Oh, I think it's like maybe a full season. I think it's like maybe 22. I'm
Okay.
just guessing. I'm just guessing. There's a lot. Oh, and also another great news. Starting in 2022, F1 has signed a contract with Miami to run a Formula One race in Miami, Florida.
How many Formula One races are in the states?
There's one in Austin,
Oh wow.
and then another. There's one in Toronto. Is Toronto on the east side of?
Okay.
Is Toronto right above, like right above New York,
No, it's like
or
right
is
above like Detroit.
Detroit? Okay, well, but it's on the east side of this country. Okay.
But that's in Canada.
Yeah, but I mean, if I
But hell, I
it's
mean,
within
Canada might as well
if
be the 51st state.
I ain't saying all that, but if I wanted to go there to watch a race, I could technically.
Or DC could be the 51st state.
Yeah, that's what they're shooting for.
Wait,
I seen the house. I guess the house passed whatever to make that happen.
yeah, but it's going to take a little bit more than that. A little
Yeah.
bit more.
Oh, question of the day.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that.
Give me 2 fingers of Southern comfort.
Did
What the bartender bring you, Joe?
Yeah, I didn't hear the first part of it. I just heard "Bring me 3 fingers of." And,
Well, you stepped on it, but that's my fault because I led you on and then I started playing it. So
oh, well,
um,
I don't feel half as bad now.
here,
Um,
no,
I
here, here,
have.
here, whoop, here we go.
Motherfucker, give me 2 fingers of Southern comfort.
There we go. We had to
That's
do
that's more like it.
it.
I have what's this? A passion fruit vodka cocktail and the good old faithful rum and coke, rum and Pepsi.
Very good. I'm just doing the coffee tonight.
Are you having
So
decaf?
no, not decaf,
Oh yeah. Are you gonna
but
Irish
shit,
it
I'll
up?
be I'll be up till midnight anyway, so I'll be fine.
Hmm. Well,
When you make that sound, it makes me I'm trying to interpret what your thought is. Do you
oh
think I'm
yeah,
full of shit?
yeah, yeah. It's funny. I've got a couple of friends that have tried that as well. I yeah. Usually just means something is passing through my mind, and
Okay.
yeah.
No, it's cool, man. That's cool. Um. Oh, let's see. So I don't know. This could
Yeah,
be a short show. I don't think too much has happened this week.
actually, before you go on to that, it's funny. A good friend of mine, her name is Shantae Spencer, used to always call me out for that. She's like, what are you trying to do? What are you thinking when you go, hmm? Because apparently I do
Uh,
it a lot.
it's weird. Maybe you do, but I've only started noticing it like the last 3 or 4 weeks. But maybe you do, and I don't know why it's suddenly jumped out at me.
It's funny. I was just about to do it just then. Uh,
Now I've made you self-conscious.
yeah, too late. But besides his life, I mean, we all have to be conscious of something, right?
That's right.
And so
Yeah.
you're about to launch into the how almost like nothing happened this week.
Yeah, I thought we was almost ready to cancel the show
Yeah,
just
I mean, hey,
for lack of content.
life. I mean, it happens. Like sometimes the show makes itself, and sometimes you have to work a little harder for it.
Yeah.
But if we're honest with ourselves,
Yeah. All right. Seriously though. So we've got the ultimate George Floyd update, but what I've done is I've decided to push that and make it its own segment number one of the show, and so we'll get to that in a second. I have a couple clips from Ahmaud Arbery, the people involved in the Ahmaud Arbery case, reacting to the Derek Chauvin verdict. And I haven't listened to these. I just seen them and grabbed them. So hopefully they're interesting. This first one is attorney for Ahmaud Arbery's mother reacts to the
All right.
Chauvin verdict. So let's see what he has to say.
And several high-profile attorneys supported George Floyd's family throughout this trial, and that includes Lee Merritt. He represents the mother of Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed in Brunswick, Georgia. He says he was relieved, but that Chauvin's conviction is rare. Merritt says the difference between George Floyd's death and Ahmaud Arbery's is the law enforcement response immediately following those men's deaths. He says the key similarity is assigning a special prosecutor.
Having a prosecutor that's neutral, that's outside of the community, that doesn't have those law enforcement and communal ties that sometimes impact how a case is presented is key. And we saw how well that played out for the family of George Floyd. We're hoping for something similar in Ahmaud's case.
And the three men charged with the murder in Arbery's death will be back in court in May for a hearing. No trial date has yet been set in that case.
Okay.
Hey, like, what's the holdup with them setting a trial date?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer to.
Yeah.
Have we touched on that at all in any of our past?
We've
updates?
we've wanted out loud when it's going to happen. We've noted that it hasn't happened, but we haven't, looked into as to why it hasn't happened, because I guess we just assumed that it would be happening.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you want my cynical take on it, it's just that the people who's running the soap opera that we follow all the time, we couldn't have two things like that stepping on each other. So now that this is wrapped up, we can roll into this brand new trial and start another cycle.
Yeah, that's an attractive way of looking at it. Like, hey, they're trying to making sure that they have content, so to speak. But
right,
even they could have at least. I mean, they could have been like, okay, well, George Floyd, they're doing their trial on this week. We'll just do schedule ours for the next month.
Well, you never know. They may start next month. we'll have to check on that.
I mean, it'll be a year plus since the kid was killed, right?
Yeah. He was killed before George Floyd, even,
mm-hmm.
And even then, he was killed before we even heard about it.
Yep.
So you're absolutely right. This other clip says how attorneys for both sides of the murder trial of the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial reacted to the Chauvin verdict. So this is, I guess, we'll hear more from that one guy that we just heard, and then plus the defense.
In Southeast Georgia, a sigh of relief after the verdict was given in the Derek Chauvin trial. But attention is shifting to what is next for the men accused of chasing and killing Ahmaud Arbery. Arbery's family feels better about the potential outcome, but so do defense attorneys. On your side's Troy Kless has more.
Justice, no peace.
A summer of protest in Southeast Georgia, the names George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery became a rallying cry. Marcus Arbery Sr., Ahmaud's dad, says his level of faith in the justice system was raised after the verdict.
I really had doubt. I'm just being honest with you because how they were doing African-American people for so long.
Attorney Lee Merritt represents Arbery's mother. He watched the trial in person last week and says there was relief in the verdict. He says there was a major difference in how Arbery's death and George Floyd's were investigated.
We're hoping that when we get to the trial, that sort of glaring errors in the initial sloppy investigation won't come back to bite prosecutors.
Defense attorneys for one of the men accused of killing Arbery, Travis McMichael, also reacted to the verdict. A statement to First Coast News says in part, "We think the jury's verdict in the Chauvin case is fully supported by the evidence presented in the courtroom. We trust and expect the jury in our case to do the same," and says if they do that, we are confident that Travis will be acquitted. Arbery's dad is confident that won't happen.
I'm feeling real comfortable right now because I see my son will get some justice. Look like he's gonna get some justice now because the way they handled that case was real professional and they done their job.
Troy Kless, First Coast News, on your side.
The men charged in Arbery's death will be back in court soon. On May 12th and 13th, the hearing is scheduled to discuss several motions made in the case. A trial date, though, has not been set, but Georgia has allowed jury trials to resume, which were shut down because of the pandemic.
Well, I'm glad we listened to the end.
Me too.
So
I
next
guess
month
that's
they're
their
going to.
answer.
Yeah, no, they don't have an answer. I mean, I guess they're going to have what they said. They'll have a couple hearings about something or other next month, but we'll let you know when they start the trial. They say, I don't know.
Yeah, the more and more I think about it, I don't know why anyone in Georgia would look to Minnesota and be like, "Yeah, we feel better about our case, going the right way because of what happened over 1,000 miles away." It doesn't make any
Right.
sense. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they might as well be two different countries, if you will.
Right.
So it seemed like somebody in the newsroom had a little bit too much free time on their hands.
During that clip, one of them mentioned about sloppy police handling. You'll have to refresh my memory because my memory is horrible. Was there sloppy police work that we know of in the Arbery case at the beginning?
I think it's suggested because they let the guys go home.
Right. and his and his close relationship with the law enforcement.
Yes, that too.
I guess when I think of sloppy police work, I think of the JonBenet Ramsey thing and how the prosecutors just
drop the ball.
They just seem to be like every drop the ball multiple times. It seemed like so.
Well, I mean, sloppy police work has many faces and takes many forms.
True. So yeah, looking forward to that. You have any other thoughts on Ahmaud Arbery right now?
They need to move forward. Justice needs to prevail or proceed.
How many times have we heard that they're holding hearings for this, that, or the other in this case? It seems like it seems like that's all that they're doing is just holding various.
Yeah, I mean that Roddy Bryan guy. It seems like every time you turn around, he's getting a hearing about being old and infirm and uncomfortable in prison and wanting to. He's been very busy.
Yeah. So, got a few quick hits for us this week.
Quick hits.
Quick hits. Yeah. This first one, I had to throw this first one on here because it was. I remember when this happened, and it was. I don't know. You may have even asked me about it. I don't know. I can't remember if you did or not, but. Remember last year when they came out and they was claiming that
Russians had bounties on
putting bounties
soldiers
on American troops and of course it was all an effort to smear Trump, but as it turns out, it was a blockbuster story. Oh, I'm sorry. U.S. Intel walks back claim Russians put bounties on American troops. It was a blockbuster story about Russia's return to the imperial great game in Afghanistan. The Kremlin had spread money around the longtime Central Asian battlefield for militants to kill remaining U.S. forces. It sparked a massive outcry from Democrats and their #resistance amplifiers about the treasonous Russian puppet in the White House, whose admiration for Vladimir Putin had endangered American troops. But on Thursday, hold on real quick. But on Thursday, the Biden administration announced that U.S. intelligence only had low to moderate confidence in the story after all. Translated from the jargon of spy world, that means the intelligence agencies have found the story is at best unproven and possibly untrue. So,
but where do you think that the source would have gotten to the story if not from the intelligence agencies?
well,
Yeah, that sounds
I
like a
don't know. I
plant to
mean,
me.
I mean, isn't it always the intelligence agencies that are? I mean, wasn't it the intelligence agencies that assured everyone that Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons?
Yeah, that was them. That was them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that sounds like their
I don't know,
handiwork.
man. Yeah,
But
these
I guess,
intelligence agencies make me nervous.
huh?
I said these intelligence agencies make me nervous.
As well, they should. They should make you very nervous. I mean, here you have an organization whose, primary role and function is to, lie, cheat, and steal.
Yeah, you're right.
Ideally from other countries, but sometimes old habits die hard. Yeah, and
Right.
they try to do that here. But uh, that story about Russians paying for bounties for American troops in Afghanistan. Anyone who knows anything about Afghanistan and Russia and Russians knows that Afghanis hate, I mean, with an undying passion, hate Russians. And so the idea that somebody that was Russian could just show up and just start giving out money to Afghans and not get killed or shot is dubious. I mean, yeah, the Afghans hate Russians because of the war they had with them. The Russians were absolutely brutal, and Afghans have a long memory.
You when you started saying that, you sparked my memory. You're absolutely right. I remember that. I remember when we went into Afghanistan, naysayers were like, Russia couldn't even root the Afghanis out of the mountains and whatnot. We don't have a chance and all that, and uh, referring back to that war. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, so that's one of those things where I heard it, I'm like, huh. I mean, it's something that should grab your attention if you hear that another country is putting bounties on your shoulder. That sounds like an act of war to me.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, we're planning. We are lining people's pockets so we can kill your people. That's pretty aggressive, and so
I
I didn't
agree.
think that was likely the case. I thought it was somewhat suspect upon hearing it. That's why I didn't. You haven't heard more from me about that because I remember hearing it, and when I first heard it, I'm like, no, I don't know. But such is life.
Yeah. Now, these next two topics are pretty interesting. You must have been having you kind of just popped these on my text, back to back the other night. So something's got you thinking, and I'm looking forward to digging into this. First topic here: Civil War within the Republican Party. Go.
Yeah. All right, cool. So within the past week, two people have come out in a big way. The first person, John Boehner,
Boner.
Burner,
Boner.
Burner, Boehner. But
I think it's
that guy,
Boehner.
the former speaker of the former speaker of the House, the guy, he stepped down the day after the Pope came to visit.
I did not. No.
Yeah, and so he's written a book, and in this book it's called On the House, and I actually might get a copy of it and read it because people like that usually have pretty good stories, and John Boehner, he son of a bar owner, heavy drinker, heavy smoker. I'm just sure that a guy like that has some stories, and so but he's come out with his book, basically calling the still active Republican Party a bunch of nut jobs, crazies. Have you heard of any? Have you heard of any of his interviews or anything like that?
No, I don't even acknowledge him as a Republican. Really, I
Okay.
could not care less about what he says. But
Well,
I do know his sentiment about people like me, the Republicans, or I don't even know if I don't even really know if I'm a Republican. I've always said I'm leaning more towards libertarian, but anyway, yeah, I'm familiar with his mindset though.
and did you know he just wrote a book?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been all over the news for the past week.
Okay.
He talks about Ted Cruz. He talks about how when he was in the House, how he realized that, hey, you know what? Yes, I'm the Speaker of the House, the guy who's supposed to have all the power here, but no, I don't have the power. Power's been diffused, and it looks like it's coming from the ground up, and those guys didn't like it. And so there's one. So Banner
Okay.
comes out with his book, and then two, George W. Bush, the younger, he
Right.
writes an op-ed in USA Today, and in it he talks about the need for comprehensive immigration reform, and that we need that the Republicans are, kind of. I mean, what word did he use? Let's see here. A bunch of isolationists. A moment. George W. Bush Republicans have turned isolationists and, to a certain extent, nativist. So we'd I guess this caught my attention because I think probably the show after Trump lost the election, we were talking about what's going to happen in the Republican Party, and that I think we both agree that this was somewhat likely to occur, that there would be a civil war in the Republican ranks, and so it's just interesting to see shots fired.
Yeah, these are just two of a group of people known as never Trumpers, so-called Republicans who I just think that when someone like Trump came in, they just had to expose their true colors. I call them rhinos or whatever, but these are the people that I'd like to see kicked out of the party, and these are the people like this are constantly losing to the new breed. I don't know if that's the right
So,
word.
what we'll call them, what, old school versus Trump school.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But and again, it goes back to the bigger picture. They're just elitists. They're globalists. They're elitists, and they kind of even transcend party affiliation. They're just horrible people that we could do without.
So I mean, these
I'm
guys.
looking forward to. I want a civil war. I'm looking forward to a civil war.
So you sound like you're like, these guys are the good old boys. Is good old boys.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do. I want a civil war, and I want to expunge all these fake conservatives out.
Now, mind you, they're Republicans. It seems like you're conflating Republican with conservative. And just so you know, people often tend to use those two terms interchangeably.
I know, and that's what I'm doing. Incorrectly, I guess, but it's too late. But yeah, I
like, I've already
yeah,
stepped in it, so
yeah. But I mean, yeah. That's how I feel, though. I look forward to a civil war.
and so So, what do you predict in terms of how this civil war will play out? So, Trump school versus old school. What happened in 2020, 22?
I think more of these old school politicians are going to get primaried and they're going to lose. I don't think the country is with them.
So, do you have maybe a couple people whom you think are ripe for getting picked off in terms of the old school Republicans?
I do not at this time. Sorry.
Well, and that's kind of an unfair question insofar as, yeah, I just sprung it on you.
It's a good question. I don't know. I guess I don't follow the midterms that closely. So, um, yeah, once we get closer to the election, maybe then I can see how it shakes out. I can make some picks then.
All right.
Although you have to acknowledge that there are some politicians that are just unbeatable. They a Mitch McConnell is never going to get beat. I don't think.
So,
Uh,
how do you feel about McConnell?
I feel about him about the same as I feel about Boehner and Bush.
Really?
I wish he was gone.
Yeah. I thought like Mitch McConnell was about as conservative as they came.
Um,
I mean, I would
he's
never,
just
I would never look at Mitch McConnell and be like, yeah, he's a liberal, or he's soft, or yeah, he compromises a lot. I would never assume those things about McConnell.
yeah. I just don't like him.
Oh, so it's just like his
I think
courage,
he's
his
a snake.
personality.
Yeah, I think he's a snake.
Wait. Good question. Who's worse, McConnell or Cruz?
McConnell. I don't necessarily I don't really know a whole lot about Cruz, to be honest. Once he got beat out of the uh, primaries for 2020, I just really forgot about him. I mean, I know he's out. I mean, obviously, I know he was out there, and I'll see stories about him doing this or that, but I don't really have an opinion about him. Has he done anything that's horrible?
Well, I mean, nothing necessarily horrible, but I remember, and when Trump was before he became president, he and Cruz hated each other. Like Trump said that Cruz's father. I mean, I think Trump said Cruz's wife was ugly, and said his father was like a failed revolutionary, tried to partake in the overthrow of Cuba and stuff like that. I mean, and then during the convention of 2016, basically Cruz went up on stage and basically said, "Hey, don't vote for Trump. Vote your conscience." And he almost got ran off the stage. And so to watch Ted Cruz go from arch enemy to sycophant was quite quite amazing.
Almost amazing is watching Kamala Harris shred Joe Biden and then become his vice president.
Yes. Actually, I'd say that. I mean, you could argue that Joe Biden kind of forgot all the shredding that he took at her hands, and so I mean he was okay with it.
Now, Joe, don't go there.
Well, I was. I mean, I'll try to be more like you, man, because you like to. Actually, you've been pretty good about like not making fun of Joe Biden because of his age.
I consider it just cheap shots. Everyone knows that. I mean, it's not like I'd be exposing something that no one knows. So there's just I don't see the point in beating that particular dead horse.
Well, you say that now, but I get the feeling that within maybe before this show's over, you're going to be back in Newman form.
No, that's been my that's been my policy since he took office. I said at the beginning I wasn't going to make
Yeah,
fun.
but
We had that 2 episodes ago. We had I played a couple clips because to make a bigger point, but I'm not going to play clips of him, screwing up the English language just for laughs. No, I'm not going to do that.
oh yeah, okay, yeah. Because why? Because you're bigger than that.
Uh, well, maybe I do think I'm better than that.
Hey, I'm trying to give you credit, man.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Yeah. Now this next topic, I have, I mean, I kind of had a hint about where you were going with the Civil War, but this next one, you're really going to have to enlighten me because this is I'm curious where this came from, and it is Minnesota goes Republican in 2024.
oh, that's easy. So last night, I saw that Merrick Garland, the current Attorney General of the United States, is is starting an investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department
Okay.
about whether they've been engaged in systematic, kind of bad policing, bad copping, such that they routinely and regularly trample people's civil rights. And
Okay.
this is really easy. Basically, um, I'm thinking that that's going to be something that rallies Republicans in the state of Minnesota. And my understanding of Minnesota is that, like, you've got St. Paul, Minneapolis, and pretty much the rest of it. Well, that's pretty much Democrat, but pretty much the rest of the state is Republican outside of those areas.
Hmm.
My understanding. And so that, because of George Floyd case happening there, and then you have the Attorney General piling on afterwards, I think if Republicans are, about as smart as have every reason to believe that they are, that they're going to be able to, take Minnesota in 2024 because, the current administration is rightfully, in my opinion, investigating them, and they're not going to like that. That's all.
Because they're racist.
I didn't say that. I said because they're being investigated.
Who has the numbers? I mean, in the concentrate, the heavy numbers in like New York and California don't affect the presidential election because we have the electoral college, but
Oh no,
that
no, no,
doesn't apply to the state. So I mean, if all the votes are in those two cities you talked about, then
no. But Minnesota's kind of a swing state. So, for example, it's gone for Biden. It went for Biden. It has also gone for Trump. One of the reasons that Trump won is because it went for Trump in 2016, something that it normally doesn't do.
okay.
So,
All right.
I mean, that's
I don't know, man.
I mean, that's a prediction of mine. So we can look up and on what show 300 by then, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, I like it. I like bold predictions, man. I do. I like a bold prediction.
It is a bold prediction, but it's a prediction that for one state in the union that normally goes Democrat. Well, actually, it flips. So I think it's going to make it easier for whoever's going to be president, whoever wants to be a Republican nominee next time.
Well, speaking of bold predictions, I predicted from the very beginning that Chauvin was going to go down for this, and
Hey, you're right.
I was right.
I mean, I wish we had like a sound, or maybe like applaud sound, or children laughing, or applause.
I know. I got laughs, but I don't have just a regular old applause. Damn it.
Yeah, Joan is like
Joan-
I mean, we got to fire those interns over there, man. They're
Yeah, we
just
gotta
like
fire them.
not doing what we need them to do.
Well, we do have this, however, if we haven't heard it already.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court file number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019.
Did you happen to see the images from the courtroom when this happened?
Yes, I did.
Did you notice how when Chauvin stood up, he assumed the position, man? He put his hands behind his back, and the bailiff hadn't even started to head his way. He just maybe he was just putting his hands behind his back, because that's just how some people stand, maybe. But I seen it.
No.
That made me laugh.
Yeah, it seemed like okay, like yeah, you're going away. I mean, was that the first time he had? I mean, previous did they lead him in with cuffs on or no?
I don't think so. Although I mean, I guess I can't say I can't specifically recall seeing that. Every time I ever seen him, he was always already just sitting there. You know, they're careful about the cameras so that they don't put jurors' faces and things like that on TV. So they may not have even turned the cameras on until everybody was seated and stuff. So I don't know that there's any video of him walking into the courtroom anyway.
Yeah, but I did notice that, and I was like, huh. Yeah. So I was watching his eyes. One of the cameras I saw was they pretty much just focused on Chauvin as everything was being read, and yeah, I mean, he's a better guy than I am, because I would have cried like a little bitch.
Can I say something also that, and this is, I know I'm totally crazy here, but I swear the last 2 days of the trial, the guy that I didn't think he looked like Derek Chauvin.
Well,
it's like I thought it was. I mean, he resembled him, but he didn't have the same look that I associate with Derek Chauvin. It was bizarre.
That's because I noticed the same thing, and I think it's because his hair was growing.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah. His hair had grown out, and yeah, I noticed that too. And I'm like, wait a second, who is? Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm not crazy then. Okay, good.
No, you're not crazy.
Yeah, that was.
You're like, who is? Oh, okay. You have to look at him sideways, like, okay, that that does look like him. And part of it is your cousin was seeing him in the uniform or in orange, and at trial he was in a suit, so you weren't accustomed to seeing him in that.
Yeah. So thoughts? What are your thoughts on? I mean, it's the best that we could have hoped for, I guess.
It is the best that we could have hoped for. But one thing that I've been noticing is that it seemed like every reporter who's talked about it was like, oh, and what does this say for like justice as a whole in America, or has America turned a corner because X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, huh. It's like reporters all must be stupid. All of them. I mean, yeah. They all were asking that same question, like, "Oh, has America changed because Chauvin's now going to jail?" Like, why would you ask a dumb question like that? Of course, it's good for this situation. It's good that he's going to jail for what he did, But why do you think that means that all the history that's gone before just disappears now? It's all taken care of. Is that what we're going with?
Well, I think the question's being asked. It's dumb to ask that question. Yes, I agree, but it's being asked, I think, because and this is also part of the reason why I was so certain that he would be convicted. There was a lot of outside influences, and I don't think that's debatable. There was a lot of outside influences, and
But
I think these jurors had a lot of pressure on them to come back with guilty. Now that said, I think he was guilty, but I think that they had a lot of pressure on them to uh, to come back with a guilty verdict as well. But I and one of the things that I think is the most unfortunate about these outside influences, and I don't think say what you want about it, but the judge even said it himself. Maxine Waters jumping into this opened the door for an appeal.
yeah, I disagree. I mean, I guess I can disagree, but like the person who would be deciding on whether or not an appeal would move forward or be entertained is the judge. But I honestly thought that Republicans had lost their mind after listening to them respond to Maxine Waters. Like, they're like, oh my god, like she just said all this stuff. It's just so confrontational and just like, no, I thought they were overplaying their hand.
Well, the interesting thing is that's exactly what I thought when I heard Democrats talking about Trump on January 6th.
Well, we can. Yeah, we
No,
need to.
there's no point debating
Yeah,
it. We
no,
see things.
yeah, yeah. We need to
We
have a sit down off air and figure this out because yeah,
No, it is genuinely. I think it's just genuinely one of those. It's a fundamental. I don't know, but it's one of those things that we'll just never. We're just never going to agree with. I've accepted that.
yeah, I haven't accepted it because I'm an eternal optimist.
Mm.
But yeah, so you think that she said something that was well out of order? I don't think. I mean, I listened to her entire comments. We have to get more confrontational. We have to fight for. Okay. All right. What's let's see here. What's next?
Well, do we? I don't know. Is there anything else that we want to talk about concerning this?
On Floyd.
I'm glad that the defense. I mean, they did what they had to do, I guess, but I'm just glad that. And I'd like to think that my reasoning is once that guy, especially a big guy like that, who's not the most nimble person in the world, once he was on his stomach and his hands were cuffed behind his back, he was neutralized. And I think I'm happy with this verdict, man.
Me too. You know who I like to hear from?
Who's that?
Eric Nelson.
I feel like I should know that name, but help me out.
He's
Joe.
a Chauvin's attorney.
Oh, is that his name? I thought he was just douchey looking at a defense attorney number one.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I didn't know he had a name. Yeah, it would be interesting to hear. I'm sure he'll be hitting the talk show circuits. If he's going to be involved in any kind of appeals, I guess he'll stay quiet. But once everything is said and done, he'll write a book and do the talk show circuits and all that.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and talk. I mean, and the thing is like, he probably was just going about his day being douchey attorney guy number one or two or three or wherever, and he just probably got a phone call, and it was like Chauvin, and there you have it. I mean, that's one of those things where that's a pretty cool. Like cool is not the word, but just interesting how you go from worker man, Joe Sixpack attorney guy to your name is everybody knows your name. I think that would just be odd.
For
I,
sure.
I hope they paid him well too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a good stopping point for a break. So, refresh your drinks, use the restroom, um, you know, whatever you have to do, and we'll be back before you know it.
We'll be back.
And we're back. Hope everybody got everything taken care of.
Yeah, if you didn't, just strap on in. We're back. Time to settle down, and you missed your opportunity.
Worst case scenario, you can hit pause.
Worst case, but I wouldn't recommend it because I just wouldn't do that.
No.
If you didn't do what you needed to do, it's just time to suffer now because we're back.
So, as if the gods or the universe or whatever had a sixth sense of humor,
And
probably around. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm about to say, and there's plenty of evidence that God has a sixth sense of humor.
Yeah, that's true. While Derek Chauvin was being officially convicted for his crime, probably within the same hour or so, there was a young lady, 16, who was shot and killed by a police officer in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes.
Not too far from where I'm at. I do have a clip here. Instead of me talking about it, I do have a clip here we can listen to. Here we go.
In Columbus, Ohio, a black teenage girl was shot and killed by a police officer. Natalie Collada is here with the details of this developing story. Natalie?
That's right, Heather. This all happened yesterday afternoon in a residential area in Columbus, Ohio. Police received that call just after 4 p.m. and then of an individual who said that there was someone who was trying to stab them and put their hands on them, and then that phone call got hung up. Now, what happened next was captured on body cam video from a police officer. However, CBC is not showing that video at this time due to the graphic content and graphic nature of that video, but I am going to talk you through what it shows. So we do in this video see police arrive outside a home in this residential area that you're seeing here. You can see this teenager start to run towards one woman who falls down on the ground near a driveway. She appears to have something in her hand, which police say was a knife. The officer is then heard yelling, "Hey, hey, get down." Before she lunges at a second girl, the officer is heard yelling again, "Get down, get down, get down." And then 4 shots are fired at the teenager, killing her. Now, the state's interim police chief did speak about what happened. Here's a little bit about what Police Chief Michael Woods had to say. Have a look.
Information was that a caller said females were there trying to stab them and put their hands on them. Dispatchers tried to obtain information about weapons, but were unable to gather that information. This is a tragic incident for all involved, but especially for the family of the female.
Now, police are not yet naming the teenager involved here. They're also not yet naming the officer who fired the shots. They are waiting to have some more investigation. We do know that the state's Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation is looking in to see whether charges will be filed against the officer in this case. It would then go to a grand jury and then back to the department for an internal review. But as you can imagine, Heather, lots of questions still today about exactly what happened here and who is responsible.
Thoughts, comments?
Have you seen the video?
Yes.
What say you?
you could say that you know you could say that the police officer shot and killed this girl, or you could say that the police officer stopped some other girl from being stabbed.
Oh, you can say both. I'd say both.
Here's this is what I've been thinking about ever since this came up, and it was, do you remember back at the beginning when we were talking about police reform,
Mm-hmm.
and your number one idea, or I think it's your number one idea for police reform. Do you know what it
Delethalize.
was? Rubber bullets.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I understand that you can't just give cops just rubber bullets and send them out there, but I was thinking I wanted to take your idea and expound upon it and do something like and I don't know if it's technically possible or not, but what about so you got a clip. I think a clip holds 9 rounds. What if the first 4 rounds were rubber bullets, and then you get into the real bullets? Or if that doesn't work, maybe like their gun is constantly equipped with rubber bullets, but they have another clip that has real bullets, that if they found themselves in a situation where they needed real bullets, they could swap out the clips real quick. I don't know. What do you think about it? Because that would, if people say get nervous or do something stupid and their finger squeezes off a shot, it'd be a rubber bullet, not a real bullet. And I don't know, I just think something like that might
It's funny because
help.
when I was conjuring this stuff up, that's kind of the scenario I had in mind. Is that your first 5 bullets are rubber bullets, and but then you have the scenario with the chick in Minnesota as well. Oh, I thought they were rubber bullets, and so does that make sense? I mean, if the cop couldn't distinguish the big ass yellow taser from the large black gun, rubber bullet. It's one of those elegant solutions that works in theory, but once again, you see evidence out there to the contrary that perhaps that's not in the awning.
Well, I think that would have been good. Bless you.
Sorry, once again, you were saying?
I think that would have been a good. That would have worked out here as well. I think, while they may not be lethal, I'm sure rubber bullets hurt
like hell,
crazy, and that would have 4. And they squeezed off 4 rounds into her, so 4 rubber bullets into this chick, she would have dropped the knife, I think. But
yeah.
I've heard that a taser wouldn't have worked because they said they were too far away.
But yeah, I think that this is one of those scenarios where split seconds. It's probably every bit of a righteous shooting.
Yeah. In a moment of a fever, I don't know. They needed to. I'm sure someone has talked to him since then, but I think this is CNN. Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo. I'm sorry, Don Lemon. I'm sorry. That's what I say when I see his name. That's how I pronounce it in my head.
Yeah. And a lemonade.
I like it. I think it sounds better. Don Lemon. It just kind of rolls off your tongue. But anyway, him and Chris Cuomo were talking about this, and this is my final clip of the show.
We were, you were really to be honest, let's let the audience into something. So Don and I heard about this story last night on social media while we were doing coverage for you of the Chauvin verdict last night. And the initial reports didn't seem right. And it was so interesting for me as emotional and personal as these stories are to someone of color, especially Don, you with your background, you were cautious about it. You were saying, I want to see this one. I want to see this. Because there was a lot of emotion, and understandably so. You got a 16-year-old kid that's gone.
Yeah.
And it's a hard one. I do not know how to explain this to people in a way that doesn't make somebody very angry.
Well, yes, and we're dealing with a lot of emotion right now, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And I think that is, it's real, and you have to take that part has to be taken into account. There's a lot of anguish. People are very emotional right now, but we've got to be fair about what happens when police arrive at scenes. It is tragic that it's a 16-year-old girl, just as it is tragic that it's a 13-year-old in Chicago. When police are chasing people, they don't know how old they are. And they don't run and say, hey, how old are you? Oh, I'm 13. You know, my mom let me, you don't know that. Or I'm 16. When they roll up on a scene, they see people tussling around, someone has a knife, and their job is to protect and serve every life on that scene. And if they see someone who is in the process of taking a life, what is that decision? What decision do they have to make? And I know that people say, well, you know, you can do this, you can do that. Tasers don't work the way guns work.
Not at that distance.
Not at that distance.
And not with that amount of time.
Yeah, right. Tasers, then they don't always connect. So you've got to get, you know, 2 prongs or what have you, and it's got to connect or whatever.
Oh, I'm sorry. I cut Don Lemon off. Anyway, yeah, it's I think this is an unfortunate situation, but the way it sounds, there was not going to be a good outcome either way. Although I could say maybe that if a girl got stabbed, she's not going to necessarily die.
Yeah, I guess I would. Yeah, I mean, I heard about it. I think when I first heard about it, it was probably the morning after the Chauvin trial. I got a message and somebody had sent. Actually, my sister had sent it to me, and so I watched it. I'm like, huh. And then I heard that. When I saw it the first time, I wasn't aware of any knife being involved. But subsequently, I saw the same video again, and then I was aware that there was a knife. And so once I realized that the girl had a knife and she was approaching another girl, I thought to myself, yeah, this is probably, once again, unpopular opinion alert. It's probably a righteous shooting, and the guy's not, probably should not be charged for having shot that girl. And then I think about, like, man, like, I mean, this is one of those scenarios where, everybody, it sucks for everybody. Nobody wins here,
Nope.
So
nope.
You've got the girl who's 16 years old and dead. You've got the would-be victim of that girl who was about to get stabbed, but then watched the person get killed literally right in front of her, traumatized. You've got the cop, the shooter, the police officer who split second, and you literally don't know what would have happened had he waited another moment or two. There could be another dead. That 16-year-old girl that's dead could be also charged with something now.
Yep.
So he got to realize that he shot someone, shot a girl, shot a young girl, killed a young girl. Then there's her mom, her dad, family. Just like one of those.
Not to make this even more sad, but just because they were fighting, I mean, it's entirely possible that they may have been friends. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, friends fight sometimes. I mean, I've never fought with a friend where I thought I was going to take a knife out and stab someone, but
yeah.
It's entirely possible that they, that I'm sure they knew each other to some extent.
Oh yeah, I mean, who else is showing up to your house to beat you up who doesn't know you?
Yeah. So yeah, it's like you said, there's no winners. It's
like one of those
all around.
It's like a sadathon.
For sure. Well, you know what? we need to move on from that and get our spirits back up. Shenanigans and
spirits. What? Okay.
maybe those are the wrong words. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what's coming next.
So we've got we've actually got a backlog of shenanigans and skullduggery to choose from. Is there any of these jump out at you more than the other that you want to talk about?
Let's see here. One more time.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, man. Oh, so let's put the one that involves death in the middle. That way, we're not ending on it.
Good point. Good point.
And yeah, let's go with the Walgreens one first.
That's what I was looking at. Good. Yeah. The Walgreens store mistakenly injects saline instead of COVID-19 vaccine.
Now, my question is, like, saline and vaccine. One is very commonplace. You can almost make it at home, and the other one is, there's a multi-billion-dollar product that is supposed to save the world from the scourge of COVID. How do you mix those two up?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, it does say mistakenly, doesn't it? I don't know, man.
But
Hmm.
but yeah, I'll go into I'll start reading it off. A
Sure.
Walgreens store in North Carolina mistakenly gave people shots of saline instead of COVID-19 vaccine, said the company. The pharmacy chain insisted that a limited number of people were impacted by the mix-up location in Monroe, the Charlotte Observer reported. Those who received the saline instead of COVID shot were contacted to reschedule their appointment as soon as possible, the company said. If you gave me the wrong shot the first time, I don't think I'm coming back.
I figured that they figured it out because the people was like, why ain't I getting sick and dying?
Yeah, I wouldn't come back and let you guys have a second bite of the apple to finish me off.
That's funny. Yeah.
These patients will later receive their second dose within the appropriate time frame, the statement said. Lisa Strawn said she and her husband were amongst the people who received the wrong injection on March 20th at the store. News station WRAL reported. They called us and told us we needed to come back the next day. That there had been a mix-up with our shot. She told the outlet. Stroon said that she was told that the pharmacist had forgotten to mix the Pfizer vaccine, and they had only received saline. The employee told her that it was the only when the store had too much vaccine left over at the end of the day that
Oh
they
my goodness.
realized they made their mistake. So it's kind of like if you were to take apart, let's say, a car engine,
Yeah.
and
Go
then
ahead.
put it back together, and then you have like a bunch of extra screws laying around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Something might be wrong.
Yeah.
You better call the customer quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Walgreens says is investigating the incident. We have taken immediate steps to review our procedures with the location to prevent this from occurring again. I hope one of the steps they've taken was to fire the person who made that mix-up, but that's But
yeah, dude.
I get the feeling that something like this probably happens all the time.
Yeah, you always hear. There's always. I don't know if they're like real, if they can be believed or not. But aren't there like stories about so many people a year, like a significant number of people a year, die from accidents it happen in hospitals and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like
So
you've heard of like, oh, like we were supposed to remove the left leg, but we accidentally removed the right leg. So like,
oh yeah.
I mean,
I mean, you do hear those stories.
yeah, I mean, that type of stuff. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen like a lot, but it happens with enough regularity that I mean, I'm
When
sure
you
that's
wait,
why they have a such thing called like malpractice insurance.
right? Yeah. But whenever I hear that number, it always is like shocking. Like it can't be that big, that many people. But yeah,
Yeah, it
crazy.
makes you want to look twice at that guy in the white coat that you're so accustomed to putting so much trust in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, Joe, that brings us to the end of tonight's show.
The end?
You have any? Yep. You have any plans this weekend?
Um, this weekend, I'm probably gonna pray for decent weather. It's like I don't know what happened, like, but it seems as if like old man winter is sticking around. Yeah,
Dude, we had snow yesterday or the day before.
that pissed. Oh, that's
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah. Crazy.
Awful.
No, it was I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. I woke up and I kind of caught a glimpse out my blinds were closed, but you can kind of like see through the slit or whatever. And I was like, looks unusually white out there. And I go into the living room and open
Is
up
that
the.
coke coming from the sky? Probably not
It
coke coming from
was. But and then later on that and it promptly melted. But then later on that evening, it was like big giant fat snowflakes came down again. Nothing lasted, of course, but still crazy to see.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I didn't see that because because like I went outside today and I went outside last night and it's real cold. I mean, it's no joke cold out there. So
Yeah, it's been. I've had the furnace on this entire week,
yeah,
or at least in the mornings. I've had it on in the mornings. But yeah, I don't really have anything going on. It depends on the weather. It depends on the weather. I
yeah.
need to
I
get
mean,
out and do something.
because yeah, I want to do something, but that's something I would wanted to be outside. But if it's as cold as it was today this weekend, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. So, well, dear listeners, we hope that you have a good weekend, and you can join us here next week, where Joe and I will continue our never-ending quest to solve the world's problems, one drink at a time.
One drink.
Take care, everybody.